This video does not endorse, promote, or glorify any form of illegal or harmful activity. Hey guys, young Psychonaut here, back at it again with another video. Thank you guys so much for the subscribers, the likes, the comments. Thank you guys so much to my members. It means a lot to me, and yeah. So today I'm not really going to talk about substances. I know this is mainly a substance channel, but as you know, in the past I've also talked about mental health and things related to that basically. So I also am really interested in these kinds of topics. I think they also relate to substances pretty well. Like a lot of the reasons to do substances is also pretty tightly linked with mental health, I would say. And yeah, I mean, if you know my journey, you know that I've been really addicted to benzodiazepines in the past, got out of that, started meditating, started really like improving my mental health to a point where, for example, now I can just like take psychedelics pretty like casually and not have a risk of a bad trip or whatever. So yeah, my mental, I would say, clarity and just stableness has improved so much over the years. But yeah, so today I really wanted to talk about stimming. So I just recently found out that stimming is a thing, but I also found out through finding that out that I've been doing it basically all my life in so many different ways. So yeah, that's what I basically want to talk about today. So what is stimming? So stimming is mostly defined as like small behaviors that people use to regulate their emotional and physical well-being basically. So let's say you have like high anxiety, then stimming would be a behavior to kind of try to reduce the anxiety in the moment, often through like delegating some part of your body to something else, which makes it like not available for anxiety, or like that is the way I would interpret it, why it helps. So like yeah, it's mostly like it can be negative behaviors, it can be positive like safe behaviors. Like there's a lot of different stimming behaviors, like some of them I will be talking about today. There's a lot, so probably I won't mention all the stimming behaviors. But for example, I started really young, now that I think about it. Like when I was 5-6 years old, I started obsessively skipping tiles. So like here in the Netherlands, all the pavements are laid with tiles, like square tiles basically, that you can basically put your foot in like perfectly. So at a young age, I started only walking in the middle of the tiles. So I was not allowed to touch the sides. Of course, this is also a little bit OCD like, but it was also like a stimming behavior because it kind of soothed me when I did that. I kind of felt better for my anxiety to do that. And also I would like bite pencils, like the end of pencils, like the wood. I would just like basically gnaw it off until the whole pencil end would be kind of like a stump. Also, just saying it now, like that is not a good stimming behavior. That is something that's probably not very good for your dental health, but also like you're just pretty grossed out with the pencils you get, etc. I also was a big nail biter back in the day. So yeah, those kinds of behaviors that really like small things that soothe you in the moment basically. And often these are unconscious behaviors. So I wasn't really like biting on the pencil, just like eating away at it. It was just very much like a background thing that was just happening to my body basically. So later in life, I also started to really like move my leg up and down when I was sitting. I know you guys know people that do this. When they sit down and they sit next to you, you can feel your whole chair moving because they're just stimming with their leg. I mean, this is pretty, I would say, pretty innocuous. Like it's not really that bad, but it can be annoying for people around you. And I also, around that age, I started fidgeting a lot, like with whatever I had in my hand basically, and doodling during class. I mean, everybody basically does that, but it can be regarded as a stimming practice because it kind of pulls you back into the classroom sometimes, or maybe sometimes not. Sometimes you're just doodling and nothing happens. But I feel like I used to doodle also to kind of keep me grounded into the moment sometimes. But yeah, is that really stimming? I don't know. It's also pretty vague in general what could be considered stimming and what not. So it's also more up to you, like do you use this behavior to like soothe yourself in some kind of way, or like yeah, I think then you can basically say it is kind of a stimming behavior. But yeah, now a few years later, I started getting really depressed. It was also the time around when I did a lot of benzodiazepines, etc., and where I didn't really care about what I put in my body. And that is where I started to like have some really toxic stims, like hitting myself, like hitting my arm, and like exactly in a way that it inflicts pain but not really causes any damage. And it was basically kind of like a punishment for myself because I just hated myself so much at that moment. But it also kind of soothed me, because when I had the physical pain, I kind of was distracted by it, and it didn't really, like, my mental anguish was a little bit relieved in the moment. Obviously, this is the most toxic stim that I've ever had. Don't do this. This is not good for you or your mental health. It was definitely a sign that I was wilding out. But yeah, it was one of those things where it kind of was this behavior that I just almost unconsciously did to myself to kind of soothe my mental anguish at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it didn't really help, obviously, because it was just so short-lived, and in the end you just end up with more pain because you're literally hurting yourself. So yeah, after that, after my depression, I started meditating, and since then, obviously, I stopped all those toxic stims. Like, I don't bite on pencils, I don't bite my nails, I don't move my leg up and down, I don't hit myself, obviously, anymore. That was just a very short period in my life, fortunately. But yeah, so the other stims at the moment, because I developed a few new ones, but they're very like, I don't think a lot of people would notice them while I'm doing them, or I'll just do them when I'm like on my own. I think these stims are a little bit more conscious now that I think about it. Like, they're a little bit more, I can basically steer them a little bit more. Like, I'm not forced to do them anymore, but they do help me like get through the day, basically. But yeah, one of my new stims is vocal stims, and mainly like repeating sentences. Like, for example, when I hear a very funny sentence or a very funny like word combination in like a YouTube video or a podcast or like a movie, I have the tendency to have like that same sentence like repeated, like not aloud, but almost whispered it to myself like during the day. And this can be like a few times, or this can be like 30-40 times a day, where I'm just kind of like going through that sentence or that whatever, that those words in my head. And for some reason it really soothes me, like my physical and mental like anxiety that I still have a little bit. It really does soothe it, I guess. And another one is also visual stimming, like looking at objects or looking at like leaves move for a long time or shiny surfaces. Basically anything that has to do with like interesting visuals. I can really like be drawn into that for like 10-20 minutes or something. Yeah, I think this also ties maybe into psychedelic visuals, because I'm always very interested in psychedelic visuals. And maybe it's also some kind of like, actually it kind of like helps me stimming when I'm on psychedelics, because everything is so interesting visually. So I can like just basically soothe myself by just looking at the visuals. Yeah, which made sense. Also feeling my, like the stubble of my beard. I think that one is very universal. I think a lot of people do that. But yeah, that one is a very nice stim, I would say. Oh yeah, a new stim that I've developed is touching my necklace pendant. So I have like a necklace with a pendant, and I'll be just holding my necklace pendant basically anytime I feel a little bit like social anxiety or something coming on, or like I'm in public and I feel like people are looking at me, or like anything where I kind of like want to soothe myself in a public setting. I just touch my necklace pendant, or like I take it in my hand basically. So another one that is really interesting is actually clicking during conversation, and I mean this, or it's more subtle. It's more like something like that. You probably have heard it in my videos, but I edit these out mostly because I don't think it really adds anything to the video. But maybe you'll see them in my videos sometimes when I forget to edit them out, or it kind of gets muffled into another word. But yeah, clicking during conversations, that is one that I do a lot, that I wasn't really aware of, but I'm getting more aware of now. And yeah, the last one is basically that I do nowadays is like touching my clothes while I sit or do something, or basically while I'm watching TV or I'm talking to my partner or whatever. I'm just like touching my clothes, basically the fabric, feeling the softness of the fabric. So yeah, I mean, and does it help? I would say yes. So like for me personally, I do feel relief when I do these stims, especially the ones that I do now that are like not toxic or like not very negative for my health or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not nail biting anymore. I'm not like doing those kinds of things, which can be pretty bad for like if you ingest a bunch of that shit. Do I think it's related to autism or ADD? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm almost definitely not neurotypical. I'm definitely neurodivergent. My therapist had not had the time to officially diagnose me before I stopped therapy, but she indicated to me that basically the chance of me having ADD or ADHD, whatever you want to call it, is basically 100%. Yeah, so I'm not officially diagnosed, but basically I have ADD. My father has been officially diagnosed with ADD. He has also been on meds for decades, so it's very, very high likelihood that that was a genetic pass down, or at least features of that. So yeah, I don't think I have autism. I've never been tested. Maybe I have like light autism, but in general, I would identify more with ADD symptoms and with ADD literature. And I do think it's probably related to that, because the thing with ADD is, and I don't know if everybody has that, but I think a lot of people with ADD can kind of feel themselves in this, is where your head is basically just pumping out content 24/7 at an immense rate. And if you really like take all that serious, it can be so exhausting. So for me, the basically the stimming, but also the meditation, it really helps to kind of like poke through all the shit that's coming out of your head and kind of prioritize a little bit. Maybe if you have a very full head and you're stimming, you can kind of direct a little bit of your unconscious attention to the stim, so the contents of like your mind are maybe not as important or prioritized. I mean, that is just a theory of me, or like how I kind of like feel about it, but it would make sense that it does help. And it's also probably related to like neurodivergent behavior or like neurodivergentness. So could OCD be also related to some of these things? Yeah, probably. I think I probably have some form of OCD, or like a very mild OCD type personality, because I'm very particular about a lot of things, and I know exactly what I want in most situations. So yeah, maybe some of these things are also related to that, but it is interesting to think about. And I mean, yeah, I found out about stimming, etc., like a few weeks ago. So, and I've been doing it my whole life. So yeah, there's always a moment where you can see like, oh, I've been doing this unconsciously for so long. That's so interesting. And what does that say about me, or like how my anxiety works, etc. So yeah, do you guys stim? Do you do it a lot? Did you also just found out about this term and am now realizing that you've been stimming for a long time? Or like, what are you guys' stimming behaviors? I would really like to know what you guys do. Put it in the comments. So yeah, this was a little bit of a different video, not really talking about substances that much. It was more about like other things that I'm interested in talking about on this channel. I hope you guys are also interested in these kinds of things. For me, substances, mental health, self-improvement, they are all interesting, and they also go hand in hand a lot. So for me, this is pretty natural topic, but maybe for the type of channel that I run, it is maybe a little bit odd. But also a lot of my videos that were not strictly only about substances have also been very well received, so I think I'm just gonna take a chance with this one. So that was the video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.